Hey guys, back again, week 3. We're going to finish talking about price. I just want to, I guess before I start this lesson, I just want to make sure I check in with you guys. So one is, because I don't see you all the time, I would very much like feedback if this stuff is engaging, if the way I'm doing it works for you. I know that you guys would prefer, an in-class session, so I am working on it, as I mentioned in the update, and I'll put some more notes in the eCentennial posting. I think I would be able to jump in, probably, I'll have it worked out by the time I post it, but I think I'll be able to spend, an hour or two every couple of weeks or every 3 or 4 weeks with you guys, just to get feedback and kind of chat with you, understand what's happening. But do give me feedback. I'm going to have the forum set up for next week. So we'll have a place to be able to talk about topics, which I'll want from you as well. Now, so the way I've set this up, and I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm mentioning it again because I want to be clear about this, is there is reading already there, which you need to do. You need to read the chapters that go along with this as well. And then what I have here is really supplemental commentary to go with this. Some of it, as you heard last week, is me kind of augmenting what's there and what the text is, and how things are changing on the fly. Omnichannel is anything but a smooth business to be in right now. So you'll see me do a lot of that commenting and just kind of adding color as we go. So we are going to jump in and just finish the price model today. You saw price and range last week, which we talked about. But what I want to do quickly is have a comment around omnichannel and the effect of online sales and what it's done. And the reason I'm doing this is because online sales is the internet, and online sales is what has directly impacted the business, which you probably figured out by now, but I want to show you the correlation between them and what's to come. Because you've heard a lot of ambiguity already from me last week around how this is different for everybody. But what is really important to know is that it's something we have to solve. Retailers have to solve it. Consumers have to help them solve it, because it is going to get worse, before it's done. And I'll show you how it's already, kind of progressed along the way. Some of it will make a lot of sense to you already, but it'll give you a sense of how big the impact is. So, a comment on online shopping before I get to, I, C, and E in the price model. So online shopping is a very big business. It is extremely large. But in the scheme of total retail sales and how it works, in terms of total retail sales and how big the industry is, what you'll see is that, so this chart I have here, forgive my touchpad skills, but I'll get there. Okay, so total sales are here. You can see those numbers here in terms of what gross sales are. Suffice to say, they're very large. Where online sales are, so, this chart starts in 2015. Online sales were around before then, but I would say before 2015, it wasn't that significant. So that was 5.8, 5.9% of complete total retail sales was sold online. And you can see this growth, this upward trending growth year over year has just progressed. We finished the year here at 8.2 8.26 or 8.2, sorry. But sales, this number is projected to grow. We think that online sales by, I think it's 2025, is going to be about 25% of total, total retail sales. But you can see that there's a long way to grow. So this business is going to grow and grow and grow. The models are going to change significantly, but it's pretty significant. The changes that have come with an 8%. At the end of last year, we're at 8% of total retail sales, but I'm going to show you how significant that's been. So let me roll down here. Last week I was pausing and erasing things. This week I am actually prepared. So 2015, and so if you follow me along here, 2015. Sorry for all the marking. I just want to make sure that you guys are following me through this. So this is, these are separated by years, obviously, but you can see here that in 2015, 5% of retail sales. Some of these may or may not be because of online, but certainly you can see that they are. There are a lot of bankruptcies here. So, this is a map of businesses that have gone out of business. Let's see if I can try and keep that number in there. That went out of business, some of it due to online. So most notably, Radio Shack, which became The Source, here in Canada. And The Source is still around, but the Source that's now here is independent from this Radio Shack. But Radio Shack went out of business exactly because of this. Amazon started to, eat their lunch. If you guys recall, one of the last conversations that we had before we finished the year, I had said to you, that if you were in this lower quadrant, for price and convenience, so this was price, and then this was uniqueness. And so if you were in this quadrant with Amazon and Walmart and dollar stores, you were going to have a problem. And, kind of The Source or Radio Shack found themselves right here, and not only with these guys, but with AliExpress, AliExpress, and then Alibaba, and Taobao are all in this space, right, of cheap electronics. And so all of these guys kind of put pressure here, and Radio Shack was the first to fall. The other ones that are in here as well, so that are really interesting. Some of these Wet Seal, Cache, some of them you may have heard of. If you didn't hear of them, take it from me, not really that big of a deal. The other ones that are really notable, so A&P, none of you are old enough to remember this, but A&P is the Great Atlantic and Pacific. They used to be a Canadian company. They were around for a long time. And then they went away in Canada. They sold all of their stuff to Metro, which you now know. So every Metro location in Ontario is an A&P converted over. And then A&P moved into the U.S. Now, this is partly because of online sales, but probably a lot because of they're in that mid-east or east coast, so there's near Stop and Shop, which, really killed them, and Publix. Both of which were much better, and then there's, Kroger's. The one that's really interesting in here, Trader Joe's, and we'll come back and talk about that in a bit. Trader Joe's was a big part for why these guys went away. And then there's a couple more kind of niche guys in the East Coast that drove A&P out of business. Now, the places where you feel the most impact is here with sports companies. So American Apparel, Actually, sorry, not American Apparel, because that's not a sports company, but City Sports. American Apparel, if you're interested, American Apparel has a very, some of you guys are quite well read, but if you haven't, I would look up the story of American Apparel and the founder, because it's quite a colorful story. So I definitely didn't mean to put that in there. But these guys, City Sports and then Quicksilver, to an extent, really felt the impact of this online sales right away. City Sports, very, the way sports equipment works is they go out and they find someone to manufacture it. It's fairly cheap to make. They charge about 100% profit, and make a ton of money on items that don't move that much. So you think skis, you think even hockey equipment, right? Like the margins on these products from a retail margin cost perspective are very high. And City Sports was riding, sports companies in general ride off that number. But what this started to do was it started to make sports equipment available online. And so if you look up a really simple one, if you look up ski goggles. Ski goggles is a great one, actually. So if you look up ski goggles, I think I spelled ski googles, ski goggles, and you look up what they cost on Amazon versus what they cost at Sports Check. Let's pick on Sports Check for a second. If you do this comparison, you will see why these guys went out of business. Because the online, even though it's a cheaper product, so dollars for dollars, Oakley is the same price everywhere, but you can get Oakley knockoffs for 100% less pricing, 90% less online than you can at a store. And so that's kind of the thing that's gonna, that got them in trouble right away. Okay, so that's 2015. You can see that some of that stuff started to happen. Were people entirely worried about it? No. The industry was sort of worried, but bankruptcies come and go, and so that's fine, right? Let me see if I can move this over without completely screwing everything up. Okay, now 2016, a trend appears. So American Apparel isn't here by accident. If you really, I will say it again, look up the founder of American Apparel, read that story. It's incredibly interesting, a little frightening, all at the same time. Now, where the internet starts to go and starts to feel some of this pain, right? So we're here. Can I roll up? Yeah, I can. So 6% is what we're looking at here. Where's my pen? 6%. So we're up, a handful, $600 million. Not crazy, but then actually I can do this and keep everything on the page. Yeah. Okay. So, but what you start to see is a trend here. So now, Sports Authority, following on the heels of those guys. So these guys said, woohoo, they're out of business. We're going to do great. And then promptly fell. Literally look up these examples and start looking at this. And they start to, they fold. And that starts to make the sports industry very worried. PacSun follows them shortly after, also sporting. Oops. How did I do that? Stop that. PacSun also follows them through this, and starts to, and that really starts to panic the sports industry. So they're worried now. They're worried about online sales. They're worried about how things happen. They're worried about how they're going to survive. Down here, Aeropostale starts to go. So fast fashion, starts to unravel a little bit because the internet starts to exposed that, an Aeropostale t-shirt, you can buy out of China for about $5, but Aeropostale is selling these for about 30. And so, do the math on the margin there, right? Like, they sell, they can buy them for 5, they can buy these t-shirts for 5 or even less than that. And then shipping costs, $1. So you're looking at $6 over 30. So it's kind of incredible margin. People can see it online. And so they start to freak out because they don't believe that this is something that should be happening. Okay. So that's what's happening here. So let's roll over. So 2017, we jump to, let's pick another color here. Sorry, I'm going to go back to black because, I can use blue, actually. Let's use blue. Okay, so here we're at 7% now. And so in 2017, let's see if I can do this without totally screwing this up again. Sorry. There we go. 2017. Okay, so 2017, I've got to move this a little because there are a lot more companies on this list. And so I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit more on this. Can I do that? There you go. And so this list gets a lot larger. So I'll just write down the number again. We're at 7% online sales. By now, the transparency of what things cost are online. People know what they cost. So these guys, which are full fashion, kind of fast fashion, but position themselves expensively, were out there and trying to sell like really cool stuff, and they were getting just smoked, right? Because people understood what they were. Gander Mountain sends the sports guys into full panic mode. I was actually speaking at the National Sporting Goods Association, and they were just losing their mind. Radio Shack refinances and then folds again, which is why they're here again. Also not an error. And then H.H. Gregg goes into tailspin. And so H.H. Gregg, again, remember my grid. If you're in with Walmart and these guys, pricing versus sophistication or uniqueness of product, H.H. Gregg was right here in the middle. Sears was here, H.H. Gregg was here, Radio Shack is here. These guys also here, right? Because people realize like, they should have been here. They're up here, right? Or they're up here. They're up down here. Sorry, this quadrant. Sorry, now I've made all these dots. Anyway, so what you're getting here is, if you're not unique and you don't offer value, you've got a problem, right? You're going out of business because consumers understand now, you know what, I can get your product or I can get a similar product somewhere else. The world is my oyster now. The whole wide web is my marketplace. And if you don't offer me anything unique, I am not buying it here. So you apply that rule here. Cheap and cheerful used to work, except bingo, lots of people in this category. You're not unique. You kind of offer some products that I can get in other places. The pricing is meh, like I can get it cheaper somewhere else. Why am I coming to you? So you literally can apply this across the board. So pretty much from 2017 and onwards, all of these guys literally all fall in this category. Gymboree, all of these guys, right? So Gymboree, like really great kids clothing, except it's all Chinese made. You can buy it online, but the pricing at Gymboree was, we bought stuff at Gymboree all the time, right? But at the time, like, so my son was born in '02. Not really a ton of internet sales or visibility to where manufacturers were. So I'd pay $18 to $20, for a jumper, like a onesie, right? Gymboree, by 2017, selling these for $30. You could get this very same jumpers at Costco for $20. If you were intrepid enough to go online, you could get them on AliExpress or Taobao for about $18. If you really wanted to go and find the actual sketchy middle guys, you can probably get these for about $12. So you can kind of see where, like Gymboree running a retail business is charging $20. Maybe their cost is this 12 because maybe they're buying it from these guys and selling it, but they've got to make up a ton of room in between, right? To run the store, keep the lights on, all that kind of stuff. Consumers are now going, you know what? I don't care about any of this, right? I just want this price, and I know I can get it now, right? So all of this stuff goes away. You think about pricing and range that we were talking about last week. This is where things really break, right? Because these they're not bad retailers. They just they always assume that product assortment was the right of a retailer, and that's a real problem, right? Because it's not really true. True Religion jeans, exact same thing. Maybe they were great jeans. I could never afford them. They were expensive jeans, but you realize that denim was really cheap online. Denim's a weird category, right? Because people still pay for marketing. And so some of it had to do with how exclusive they were, and the price points they were trying to charge. And then some of it was just branding didn't work. So, go figure, go figure. This is a great category, to look at as well. Toys R Us getting pinched by Walmart. Same toys, same manufacturers, but couldn't offer, what these guys could offer. The other one, Amazon starting to completely jump into this category and sell what they were selling. The diametric opposite is Mastermind. So if you look at Mastermind and Mastermind Story, this is the moment when, if I were with you in class, I would ask you to put up your hand if you've ever been in a Mastermind store. They are wonderful stores. They're tiny, first of all. So, their footprints, a Toys R Us store would be somewhere in the 100,000 square feet, right? Sorry, that's a zero. And a Mastermind would be somewhere in the 35 to 40,000 square feet. So one is, from a retailing perspective, the profit per square foot you're getting. The Mastermind guys figured it out. Like, this is the maximum size of store. I'm going to jam it packed, and I'm going to get as much profit per foot I can get out of the story. I'm going to offer you free gift wrapping during Christmas. I'm going to offer you free exchanges. I'm going to offer you, they have something like 5 associates in a 35,000 square foot store, which gets quite crowded, right? It's tiny, but if you ever have been to a Toys R Us and tried to buy, a nephew or a little sister or brother a present, they have about 5 associates in 100,000 square foot store. You can't find anyone to help you in a Toys R Us. So, some real problems there, right? Like, this Toys R Us model should have worked. They had enough to do all sorts of neat things with it, which we'll talk about as the options. But, that's the problem. Okay. So 2017 looks like that. By now, 2017, we're calling it an apocalypse. The retail world is freaking out. And nobody's really putting this all together. They're just going, oh my gosh, we're watching retailers close. There must be something going on. Why is it so crazy? But the truth is, what they weren't looking at was online. Okay. So let's wrap up. Can I do this? I can. All right. I'm going to go back to black because I just don't have that many colors that I dare to use. 8% now. So at 8%, sorry, no, 8.2% here. So we've gone up, another $137 billion. And so you're looking here, and there are some significant companies here. So come on, move over. There we are. I want this bar. Oop, sorry. There we go. All right. So we're looking at 8%, I think I said. So 8% online sales. And so kind of the closing continues. So Bon-Ton, U.S. department store, goes out of business. So again, think of that grid. Bon-Ton on the price scale was here, didn't offer anything unique whatsoever. Again, selling everything very much like a Sears. Okay. You're looking at the walking store, Claire's, which sells kind of cheap. Sorry, this is a dad talking from his experience with taking his daughters to this store. But it's really like, accessories, all sorts of, those sort of hair ties, hair clips, little cheap bracelets, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're looking at something that clearly you can do online. Clearly people can do it cheaper. The dollar stores have a huge, edge in this market. So these guys they couldn't make it. So they've refinanced. I think the Canadian version of Claire's is not the same as the US. They broke off. So that's why you still see Claire's here. So we'll talk about that too. The US versus Canadian and what the differences are. Remington, I'm not a gun guy, so no tears shed here. I don't actually know. I don't think online sales really played a part in Remington going out of business. So I don't know if you take that. I think that just happened. So whatever the reason is, whatever it is. Nine West. So similar sort of situation, right? Is Nine West producing high-end shoes for, high-end shoes that weren't that unique, really, that had sort of a proposition, but expensive and not should have been up here, wasn't. They were kind of here, so not unique, expensive, just couldn't keep up, right? Not particularly great service, so they're out. Not a lot of positioning either. You think of all the guys that are in this category, all the retailers that are in this category that offer something a little bit different. By 2018, the book is out. You've got to be able to do more than offer a product and a price and some sort of marketing material that says you're amazing. Rockport, very much in the same boat, right? So outdated marketing. I'm a 40-year-old guy. I don't buy Rockports, and I'm supposed to be the target market for that group. But they kind of lost that market. And quite frankly, there were a ton of other guys coming into the market that offered better shoes. And so, what was the positioning there? Don't really know. And honestly, I think I'm supposed to be the target market for that group, and I have no idea. I haven't ever worn. I might have had one pair of Rockports in my lifetime, but not in my consideration set whatsoever. Down here, Brookstone, which I gotta say I'm a little sad. So Brookstone, I used to go into in every airport that I've ever been in to sit in the massage chair for a little bit. But Brookstone, again, if you look at their assortment, electronics, right? Electronics that you can get on, and you can list them here: AliExpress, Alibaba, Amazon, Banggood, GearBest, you name it. The list goes on and on and on and on. So again, not really not great. Sears I'm going to talk about, but Sears, what I will say to you is Sears has been going out of business for a very long time. So they fit solidly in this quadrant. Sears has been terrible at what they do for a long time. So Sears, of all the people that I've shown you along the way, this is the whipping boy for everybody. So when you hear retail apocalypse, they always lead with Sears. What I would say to you as knowledgeable market people is you pull Sears out of the equation, always, because Sears has been floundering for 10 to 15 years. They haven't really been a relevant player for a very, very long time. And so I would not really, I would not put a lot of stock into this. So they're just there, and they finally dragged their heels and they finally folded. I think the founder or the CEO of Sears is still trying to make this thing live. We can't wait for him to just let it go and go find something else to do with his life. Okay, so the other one that's really interesting, I'm sure Mattress Firm doesn't feel that way, but Mattress Firm is interesting because it's a direct lead into all the other mattress businesses that you've seen. And now that I'm saying that, I can only think of Endy, but you can insert your online mattress company now. All of the ones that ship straight to your door, you can try it for 180 days and then send it back. That is the new version of online, which is now forcing these guys out of business, right? Because you don't need a store, although you do in the end need a store, but you don't need one in the beginning. It's, your ability to be able to do things, without a store is actually pretty amazing, right? So this kind of gives you a bit of feel for how online is changing. Now I'm going to attempt to, I've marked all that up. Okay, so that wasn't quick at all. That was, I had meant that to be a little quick thing, but it wasn't that quick. But I did want to do that because that kind of leads us to, there it is. There's the other diagram. That leads us to the other pieces here. So in the first week, we talked a lot about how marketing isn't really integrated. The reading portions of this were a lot of this stuff, which you know already. We're here, we're into PR, and then I, C, and then E for experience. And so we talked about price and range and how important that is. Price is the one that really, actually both of those, price and range, really lead into information. And information, as you go through the reading stuff, I think this is where everything breaks. Because in every situation above that you saw, transparency is such a big part of, it's a defining moment for the consumer. The consumer before this, and you guys are younger than me. So, but think of those moments when you are searching for something and you cannot, and the Google doesn't produce you anything interesting. Trying to think of a really good category for that. So I've been helping a friend source tablets. So you think of, Apple iPad, and then obviously the next one is Samsung Galaxy tablets, right? And then there's all the Microsoft Surface and stuff like that. If you take these three and then you try and go beyond this, there may be a couple of more brands. There's Lenovo, who has a tablet, and then there's some fringy ones like Huawei has a tablet out there. And then it gets a whole lot, you know. In fact, I think it almost stops. I think there might be a handful more and then it stops. This is kind of the industry that we were looking at, you know, pre-2015, probably pre-2010. You were looking at an industry that all of those retail industries that you saw above when, listen, here's what I got to stock. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's your range. And then, you know, pricing wise, I'm going to price like everybody else. So if I'm Best Buy, I'm going to be the most expensive. If I am, you know, even look at the markets, right? So Best Buy, and then who beyond that? If you're looking for one of these, Costco, right? Costco, and then it drops significantly. You've got Canada Computers. You've got Newegg. And then way at the bottom, who may or Best Buy, and then Staples is in here. I almost forgot about them. We'll talk about them too. But Best Buy, Staples, Costco, Canada Computers, Newegg. So you can see how it drops significantly. And then way at the bottom is Walmart. That kind of lags this category. But in all of this, you know, this is the old category, right? So if you were looking for this, this is all you could get. You know, there's really nothing else. But with the information age, right, and the internet and e-commerce, you're open now to, you know, AliExpress, which I've talked about before, the Amazons of the world. You know, so if I were to change this list now, the list does change, right? Like now you're adding in, so I am adding in Amazon. Whoa, that is way too thick and kind of gross. Let's do that. Sorry. So intense, that little fuzzy thing there. So now I'm adding in Amazon. I'm adding in Taobao. I'm adding in Alibaba, which is, you know, and that includes AliExpress and all those guys underneath them that are subsidiaries. You're looking at GearBest. And Amazon, by the way, I'm not sure how many of you do it. You can shop Amazon Canada, but you can also shop all of the other Amazons. So you can look on the UK, you can look on the US. You can literally, I think we're able to get something like 8 countries. And as long as they ship to Canada, you're able to buy from them as well. So all of a sudden now, these guys are struggling because they controlled this market for a long time, right? But now the consumer has the ability to see this. They can see these guys. They can see these guys. And then this list now changes because now there's like tablets from Xiaomi that are on this list. There's it's shocking how much I was able to pull out on tablets alone, but this is a really good example. So Xiaomi, Telclast, there's a weird little brand named Chewy, which makes a really good living. There's a brand called New Vision in there somewhere, and then Amazon has inserted its own thing here as well. And so what you're looking at now is information, which has now driven this category crazy. And so you, as the consumer, you are at the middle of this decision tree. You used to be on the periphery. So you used to be, sorry, because now I've made this so complicated, you used to be over here somewhere, and then you would have to go through these guys to get to these guys. And when you got here, this was your only choices. But now you're at the center of all of this. And so you can really, you can choose what you want in here. And you have visibility to all of this stuff. And so for you to get these tablets now, you don't have to go through any of these guys. You can go through these guys. You can do whatever you like. You can go to all these guys. The other part of information that's been incredibly interesting is you now also have feedback. So you have ratings, right? Which you didn't have before through these guys. You know, they have tried to catch up now, so you can read Best Buy ratings, but I know of almost nobody that actually takes these to heart. They kind of read them, but the truth is, you know, 50%, 54% of searches now go to Amazon. So consumers are going there and reading before they go and figure out what they want to buy. And so you've got ratings, you've got influencers, right? And then you've got reviews, unboxings. All of these things play a big part in this information stage. And so when you get to information's the one that really breaks things open, because now there's a level of transparency that was never there before. What I should say now is, for retailers, they're not bad people. So, you know, the people at Walmart, the people at Best Buy, they didn't go out and say, no, I don't want to tell them these are bad things. In fact, they're the opposite. They really want things to be right. But as we get into it, you'll see, the next steps we take when we start getting into implementation and operation, you'll start to understand how difficult it is to have a bricks and mortar shelf as well as a digital shelf, and how to keep all of that information synced and together. It's quite difficult. So, so a lot of that has to play a part in this. Now, having said all that, this is where things really break, right? Is you've got information that is out there. These guys who have been doing business kind of the same way for a long time have really struggled to be able to do more, and to be able to do something better. And so that, that causes a lot of issues for these guys, because they cannot compete with all of these kind of these new channels and the new way of doing business. Most of these guys came to be, in the last 10 years. And so their systems and their setups are set up for this kind of, all of the social stuff. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second. I'll be right back, and then we're going to talk about convenience and customer experience. Okay, so I'm back. I guess for the video, you didn't even see me go away, but I went away. I wanted to grab this grid because I've been referencing this grid, so I thought it was important to just bring it back and remind you of this. So up here, I've said it's the Amazon effect. I think it's now the Amazon effect, but it's the information effect, and then it's the internet effect. It's the online sales effect in a lot of ways. And so just to quickly cover this grid, differentiated meaning your product or your product experience is differentiated, is up here. Price is on this axis, so expensive is this end, and then cheap is on this end. I haven't written a cents symbol in a long time, but and then differentiating meaning unique, and so these terms, differentiated and commodity, are you can modify these. So it really depends on what you're talking about. So obviously commodity down here is items that are what we would call, that everyone would call a commodity item. So that's that could be things like detergent, soap, shampoo, diapers, You guys don't care about diapers yet. Milk. Socks. You laugh, but socks is a commodity, and it's a big deal, actually. Even T-shirts. So you think of American Apparel. No, that's a bad example. You think of any of the other Gymboree up above. All of those kind of apparel companies that we had saw. And so, I'm actually sorry. So if you guys remember this from last semester, I apologize, but I do want to cover this. It's important. This is, the further you go down this grid and you wind up here, this is cheap and cheerful. And so all of the guys that sold T-shirts, so let me see if I can find someone from our grid that's a really good example. Actually, any of the sports guys will do. So let's say you are Sports Authority. Okay, Sports Authority was kind of like a Sports Check, and you sold T-shirts. And if you sold a T-shirt, if you sold a Quicksilver T-shirt, which if you remember is on that bankruptcy chart, you would sell it up here. So it'd be a $30 T-shirt-ish, right about here. Actually, it'd probably be almost here, really. Quicksilver was a T-shirt you could get almost anywhere. Everyone would sell it for about $30-ish. But you could go onto Amazon, Amazon or Walmart or any of these guys and find the very same T-shirt for probably about $5 or $10. So you're kind of looking at this $30 T-shirt, and then you're looking at it over here going, well, I don't care. I'm going to buy it, but I'm just going to wear it, and then I'm going to throw it away. Socks are the same thing. And so, sports socks and all that kind of stuff is, they've continually headed down this category. All of these are continually getting cheaper because Walmart says, I'm the lowest price in the market. That is their reputation, and they will do that. And the Amazon follows them right down there and says, listen, whatever you can do, I can do. Right? And so you got these two kind of big guys in this category anchoring down all of these commodities, and they're basically dragging anyone who plays in this space down with them. The guys that have kept up are the dollar stores. And then in the US you've got guys like Dollar General, that are doing some very cool things to keep up with these guys. Okay, so that's the other one. They're in there. But what you've got here is all of the guys that were in this category. Almost everybody that you saw in those charts was in here. They were either in this spot or really in this spot. Like Sears was here. Bon-Ton was even more expensive. So Bon-Ton was somewhere in here. And these guys, they just can't make it, right? Because if you're a consumer, you're going, wait, so I can buy the same thing at Sears, but I can buy it here, and I can pay this much less than you guys, so I'm going there. And so, that is a very, very big deal. Okay, so this grid takes us into, I know we're at 48 minutes. I will wrap up around an hour. Okay, so the next in that price model, the price model is going to be convenience, right? So this C, and so the reason that this grid makes a whole lot of sense for what we're doing here. I think it sets the textbook and the reading lesson in context. Is when you're looking at we've just looked at how price is completely transparent. We've looked at range, how you've got way more selection, and then information has created you the ability to basically search for products anywhere in the world and pretty much get anything you want to your doorstep. So the real question is, how did any of these guys make it? And so you start to think about this and you think, what do we do here that, how do you compete now? So how do you fight for a consumer? Not every retailer can be the cheapest price in the market. I can't compete with the internet. I can only offer so many products. And I can't even hide it or outmarket somebody for it now because the information's all out there. So what do I do? One of them is a convenience factor. The ability, Amazon's done a really good job of this, of being able to, you think of in the articles that you're reading, Amazon Locker comes up, right? So you can get things delivered to an Amazon Locker. If you're in the US, you can get this within 3 hours, delivered to a locker near you. In Canada, we're still at 24 hours, which is still pretty amazing, right? So, what a really great example is, if you remember at the end of last semester, I lost my laptop charger. I just had one. I lost it. And so I was able to order one off Amazon and have it within 24 hours. So my battery ran out. So I went to Best Buy and bought a way more expensive version, used it for a day, and then returned it when Amazon delivered mine within 24 hours. That is pretty convenient, and so if you're trying to win, convenience becomes a really big deal. Now, how do you beat, something like that? Like, how do you beat, like if you're everybody else, how do you go, well, you just gave me an example of how Amazon is killing everybody. So if I'm a bricks and mortar, do I give up now and go home? No, you don't. There are some things that you can do. So Walmart, for example, Walmart and Loblaws, all have what they call pick and pack now. Or pickup, grocery pickup. And so I can tell you, I haven't been in a Walmart in, 6 months, right? We order it online. We pull up to a parking spot, dial the number, and then they bring out my groceries to my car, load them in my trunk for me, and then I drive away. That is a convenience factor. So if you're trying to win, convenience is a big deal. Being able to do something like that. Best Buy has pickup, right? And so if you want to buy it online, you can pick up at any of their locations, and they have it in a separate spot. Sports Check has done the same thing. If you see it online, you can buy it online, and then they will either ship it to you, or you can deliver it to a store and pick it up within 24 hours as well. And I think Sports Check actually helps you transfer product from store to store as well. So if you happen to see it in Quebec, they will ship it back for you. They give you full transparency to where it is, and then you're able to ship it back and then pay for it and pick it up. Okay, so convenience becomes something that's incredibly important. The convenience factor in the US has started to really heat up. Everybody is trying to deliver straight to your door. Uber actually has, or Amazon has a service that is like, I think it's called Amazon Go. And it is like an Uber-like service, where they have delivery trucks, that pick up product or pick up packages from the Amazon warehouse, like a on-demand Uber system. And so you can get things Ubered to you. So you've got kind of like lots of different ways to go about this. You've got brands that are trying to jump into convenience to break open everything else. And so you've got places like Chef's Plate. If you guys have heard of them, they're a Toronto startup. They basically can deliver you a full uncooked meal to your house with instructions and a recipe and everything that you can follow, with everything pre-measured and preset, so that you can basically cook your own meal at home, but get it delivered to your front door. Fresh ingredients, the whole bit. And so convenience is going to play a big part in how, in how consumers will choose, right? Because price and range aren't going to be enough now. So convenient has to be something that is immediate, that helps them decide. What crosses over, if you think of the last one in this category, is experience. So I'm gonna roll down here and just do okay, and I'm gonna do experience. So that's the last of the price model. So experience is a big deal. And so what crosses from that category, from convenience, often convenience and experience are viewed adjacent to each other, or very similar, because they do have a lot of differences in them. So, or they have, a lot of similarities. And so if you look at customer experience as being a big deal, think about let's go back to the Toys R Us and the Mastermind experience, right? So Toys R Us, 100,000 square feet, right? So basically a very large store. You've got Mastermind, that is a kind of 35,000, 40,000 square foot store. So much, much smaller, 1/3 the size. Now, the experience at Toys R Us isn't a really great one. They have, so Toys R Us and Mastermind carry, Toys R Us carries the same product, as Walmart, Amazon, right? So that's the Hasbro guys. There's a whole bunch of these. Hasbro. I have children. I should know all these brands, but all the toy brands are in here. Okay, so so all of these are the same. They have. I was joking when I said they had 5 workers, but they really might have 10 people on staff for a 100,000 square foot store. Okay, so that basically gives everyone about 10,000 feet to cover per person, right? And so, this is kind of the equivalent of a section. So if you have the puzzle section, or you have the bike section, if you've got the Barbie and doll section, if you've got the gaming section, so on and so forth, right? 1 per person. And it's not, so the experience here isn't great. You go in, you look for what you want. It's pretty much self-serve. They don't know a lot about the products because there's a lot of products in the store. At 100,000 square feet, you're probably looking at, probably 300,000 items, right, in store. Okay, so a lot of items, right? And so they're not knowledgeable. The staff there are kind of there to maintain order, to keep things merchandised, so the store looks nice, but they're not that well put together. The Mastermind store, differentiated product, right? And so I'm speaking from a retailer, from a retail point of view and from a parent point of view, differentiated, dedicated to learning products. And they're pretty serious about this. They know their stuff, right? So every time you go in there, there's something interesting for your children to learn. That means that they don't have to worry about price. So they charge, I'll put appropriate pricing. The truth is I've never heard a parent complain about their pricing, because there's nothing. So this is a key part of, omnichannel is when you if you offer differentiated product, there's nobody to compare to. So you could go online, you could probably try and search these products. You're already bought into the dedicated learning differential piece. If the pricing is appropriate, then it equals convenient, which means you're probably going to buy it there. Okay, so that's how these guys are tied together: experience and convenient. Now, the other parts where experience gets scientific is really Mastermind probably has. I'll stick with the example I have. I think the math works. Is they probably have 5 people in the store for 35,000 square feet, right? That puts these guys at 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 5, 5 times 6, 5 times 7 is 35. So that's 7,000 square foot each, right? So you're at a bit of a difference, right? And so if I'm off by this number, if they're up by to 6, then all of a sudden that number drops significantly, and the number of SKUs in the store are significantly less. Like this number, the number of items in the store is somewhere around 70,000 items, if not less than that. Okay, and so all of a sudden now you've got an employee who has a smaller section, who understands these items because they are smaller. You already have a consumer who is dedicated to learning, who understands this category, and now you've got, and it's no longer self-serve because there are 5 people in so this is assisted buying now, and so all of a sudden now, like these are small things, but what you're getting now is there's so many pluses along the way, right? So you've really taken out the ability of online to take you out of the sales. Because appropriate pricing equals convenient because you already bought into the dedicated learning piece. You have a smaller square foot size, you have smaller items on shelf, it's assisted buying. When you add in that range, free gift wrap. Now it's not hard to see why these guys went out of business. They like at line 2, they're competing, right? And so the mathematics behind this are also here as well. As when I've got a smaller square footage with unique items, my ability to turn profit per square foot is better. I don't need to do as much. Because there's less square feet, I'm filling it with products that are going to turn over. I have a smaller assortment, which means as a retailer, I'm gonna be thinking about these items, or I'm more focused on these items, and then I have a guideline for how this works. Here, I've got I'm going to be challenged on profit per square foot. So if you've ever been in a Toys R Us, you know that there's a lot of empty space. Filled with children kind of running around, or not filled with children running around, but lots of empty space that isn't doing anything for you. So you're not turning a profit as a retailer. You're going to be challenged. You're also going to be price challenged because everybody has these products, right? And Hasbro and all the guys I can't remember are pushing it to Walmart and Amazon. They don't care who sells it as long as somebody sells it. And so the kind of list goes on and on and on. But experience-wise, this is how things change. So now you're starting to see this. You're starting to see retailers really think about. You've seen stores get smaller. In the U.S., they've had Kohl's has started to scale down stores. So they have this model. They have 100,000 square feet. They're looking at going here. So I was with these guys, and they were talking about putting in. My suggestion to them would be like Kohl's sells, all sorts of home and kitchen stuff. So anything from apparel all the way through to frying pans and house cookery stuff, and some light furniture and things like that. And so we talked about getting local chefs in to use utensils that are sold in store, ingredients that are sold in store to help them grow their business. They've actually looked at, and I think they've gone down the path of getting an Amazon locker now in there, because they see Amazon helping them drive traffic, which helps them with square feet in the store, because they looked at this model here and said, listen, we have to be transparent. So in this new age, I can't hide. If I'm Kohl's and I'm up here, these guys are my competitors, but I can't hide, because this consumer in the middle, they can see these people as well as they can see me. So why don't I just cross over and add these guys? And even though they're competing with me, maybe we can figure out how to do business together. Which is the other part of experience, right? So you as a consumer now go, hey, you know what? I'll have it delivered to Kohl's. Maybe there's something else I'm going to shop and buy for there as well. And so that's going to be part of this as well. So I'm a little bit over. I'm trying to break this up a third. So a third of it is reading textbook. A third is reading the stuff that is in eCentennial. I do audit it to make sure it's good material. And then a third is listening to me put it in context. So this is the rounding out of price. I'm going to put, this is, sorry, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it is now, but, this is the rounding out of price. Do let me know what you think. And we'll keep going, but we're starting to get into some pretty exciting stuff. You can kind of see how this stuff puts together. If you guys want different examples, please hit me up and let me know. And I will change these up and add different experiences for your different examples. Okay. That's it for this week, and I will see you guys next week.